Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the www.PlaidAvenger.com, where, as always, even after an extended hiatus, we just don't want to hear the news. We want to understand the news. And there's a whole bunch of news stories that are related, and I think that they're impacting today's world, but actually more so the future of warfare and alliances in the coming decades and centuries. Ha ha ha! What am I referring to? Well, you've probably heard of these things called predators or drones or hellfires. Or what is all this stuff going on? Back in June 5th of this year, that's 2011, one of the head al-Qaeda operatives in Pakistan was taken out by a predator drone from the United States. Okay, that's strange. Maybe you paid attention, maybe you didn't. Then more recently, September 30th, a drone took out Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen, who was a head, if not the head, of al-Qaeda in Yemen, and one of the main propagandists for Yemen, for al-Qaeda in Yemen and the world. And just a few days later, on October 5th, 5 or 6 more top al-Qaeda dudes were taken out by yet another U.S. predator drone. And that begs the question then, what the hell is a predator drone? What's the deal with drones? Why are you hearing so much about us in the modern world? In real current events, like real now, and so many analysts and folks are saying this is like an era of drone wars. We are entering the drone wars. I agree, by the way. And so let's entitle this one, let's think about it from a different perspective. Let's talk about the changing geography of the drone wars. Oh, it sounds so cool. The drone wars, because you got like Star Wars, just Clone Wars, but this is like the drone wars in real life where real people are really dying. First off, well, before we get to the geography, what the heck is a drone? You can see lots of technical acronyms about what these things are, like UAS or UAV. UAS is Unmanned Aircraft System. UAV is Unmanned Aerial Vehicle. There's probably 20 other technical terms for these things. Here's how the Plaid Avenger interprets it. It's a remote-controlled airplane you can do stuff with in a very big way. And they come in a great variety of shapes and sizes. Some, they say, are the size of a hummingbird, or they're saying they're going to be soon when they're developed. You know, the size truly of a toy. You could get down a Radio Shack and from the other side of the planet, remote control it with an Atari joystick, which is how I like to think of it. And it could be true for all I know. This stuff's classified, man. I'm making it up. They can be anywhere from a toy size to the size of a dump truck, and they do a variety of things according to what they're made for and how long they can go out in the field. By the way, some of these things can go out in the field and, you know, go for anywhere from 4,000 feet above the surface of the earth to 40,000 feet. Some of them can go for, you know, 400 miles in one direction and hang out and circle and chill for 10, 12, 14 hours and then come back. So it depends on what they're built for and the capacity of their engine and their fuel and everything else of what they're going to do. And that brings me to, what do they do? What the hell would you do with an unmanned aircraft system? Unmanned being the operative term here. There's no man in it, remote controlled by somebody else on the ground somewhere else. Variety of uses. You can have cool things like search and rescue they're starting to use them for, where, you know, say a plane goes down in the Pacific and you just send one of these unmanned aircraft up just to go, float around for, fly thousands and thousands of miles just looking at the ocean trying to find, say, people who survived the plane crash or the boat crash. They're also used for remote sensing. So you just put cameras and video and audio and any other equipment you want into it to record stuff, maybe record mountain passes or enemy territory or a battlefield, which kind of feeds into what we call reconnaissance. They're mostly used for to go get information about a potential place we're going to be invading or having a fight in or doing something in, or surveillance and recon for individuals who are trying to track down terrorists or perhaps a head of state we don't like, and find out where they're at and follow them and watch them. So reconnaissance, surveillance, search and rescue. They're also used as decoys, where you could send them into the field of battle to as a decoy that enemy plane would attack or enemy anti-aircraft missiles would fire at, so you could see where the locations of that stuff is. Ooh, a decoy. But increasingly, and this is mostly what we're going to talk about right now, these drones are being used for weapons delivery. That's right. You got these unmanned aircraft with cameras on them, so someone with a joystick can pilot the thing, can see where it's going, can see what it's seeing, and actually deliver a payload right through the bedroom window of somebody in the middle of Mongolia. And that is actually not much of an exaggeration. I know I'm prone to exaggeration. Literally, these things are so good. You can put a camera in the plane, you put a camera on the bomb, and you can put it on the other side of the planet, put it up in the air for 10 hours hanging out till you see the rabbit stick its head out of the rabbit hole, and then send that missile in and guide the missile with a camera based on the nose of it, and you can put it right through the bedroom window of somebody you want. This stuff is crazy, crazy, crazy insane. And the use of it is going up radically, dramatically. This decade, actually just the last 5 years, this stuff has been exploding. The most popular ones you probably heard of, the Predator, the Reaper. I think it's the U.S. Air Force uses the Reaper. The Predators are mostly used by the CIA. Both of them fire Hellfire missiles. Hellfire from the Reaper. And these things all sound like they're straight out of a comic book, but they're quite deadly when used for weapons delivery. They're quite deadly because they're small. They can go unseen, especially at high altitude. You can't see them, you can't hear them. And if you put a Hellfire missile on the damn thing, those are supersonic, which means they go super fast. So you have something in the sky, possibly over your head in the middle of the deserts of Afghanistan that you can't see, that on a moment's notice could deliver a supersonic missile to your door in 5 minutes or less. Silently, deadly, never see it coming, don't know what's happening. They're extremely, extremely effective at dealing death. They're effective at the other stuff too, but increasingly effective at dealing the death. Now, they're being exponentially used now. The use is going through the roof. Why? Why would the U.S. government, and I'm going to pick on the U.S. mostly for a little bit here, why would the U.S. government, and others by the way though, but the U.S. mostly, be so hot and heavy about using these things? The CIA and the DOD in the United States thinks this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why? Why are they so popular? One, they're unmanned. Yeah, that's the best part of them. You can put a missile or a camera or a spy or anything else up in the air anywhere you want to put them on planet Earth. And if it goes down, if it crashes, if it gets shot out of the air by enemy aircraft or by anti-aircraft missiles, doesn't matter. It just costs some money. It's just a toy. It blew up. We lost it. We didn't lose any U.S. service personnel. There you go. That's number one. Because the U.S. does not like to lose soldiers. The U.S. could send a fleet of these things out to attack any country. And if we lost all of them, everyone in the U.S. would be like, oh, well, that sucks. It'll cost some more tax dollars. If you lose one service person, then it's a problem. Then it gets bad press. Then people start asking, why are we in this war? So the fact that they're unmanned is perhaps their key element for the United States right this second. But there are other benefits of them too. Namely, two. War has changed, my friends. Now we're thinking a little more geographically right now. What do I mean war has changed? People killing people, that's always the same. Not really. For most of human history, it's been tribe versus tribe. For the last 500 years, state versus state. So Germany goes and attacks France. France then reattacks Germany. The USSR attacks Germany. Germany attacks the USSR. The United States attacks Afghanistan or the USSR or Germany. State versus state. That is why militaries are the way they are, which is big. That you have aircraft carriers and battleships, then missiles and tanks, fleets of tanks, and millions of men in boots to physically be prepared to go invade another country, to physically take it by force. Is that the way war is conducted today? Is that the aim of war today? Think about all the wars going on planet Earth. And the answer is not. Wars in today's 21st century are fought to get groups of people, to get individuals. The United States and NATO did not invade Afghanistan to take over the state of Afghanistan. They're trying to get al-Qaeda. That's a small group of people. Why send 10 trillion troops and battleships and billions of dollars worth of hardware when you're basically trying to get a handful of dudes? Send a drone. We can pilot that sucker to go find the dudes. Let's find the dudes we want and then go blow up the dudes we want, not blow up the entire country. So the nature of warfare has radically changed, and big armies just ain't the thing anymore because big armies are used to take over big territories. That is not what the U.S. was doing in Iraq, not in Afghanistan. The whole movement in Libya is to go get Muammar Gaddafi and his boys, not to take over Libya. The whole reason the U.S. went into Iraq was to take out Saddam Hussein, not to take over Iraq. You see how things are changing, and this particular war technology is perfectly suited to finding small groups of people, like the Haqqani network, like al-Qaeda, like the Taliban, like any terrorist organization, small groups of people, in any part of the planet. It's perfect for it. So one, why we love them so much. One, they're unmanned. Two, war has changed. And three, based on 1 and 2, there's less collateral damage. What I mean by that is, in conventional old school war, you drop big bombs on cities, or, you know, catch the country on fire by firebombing the whole thing, and lots of innocent civilians get killed in old school warfare. These particular drones minimize civilian casualties and actually minimize damage because they're so effective at the delivery. It's a smaller bomb. They're only going after Osama bin Laden. They're not trying to take out all of Afghanistan. This drone technology is perfect for that. In the old school, they could have taken out Osama bin Laden anytime they wanted to. Drop a nuclear weapon on any town that we think he was in, you could have got him like that, right? But that's unacceptable. Too many civilian casualties, too many innocent people would be killed. You could take him out, but the collateral damage was too high. Now with drone technology, you follow them, you watch them, you wait, you send the missile via the drone right through the bedroom window, and boom, you get Osama bin Laden, or whoever you're after. And yes, a couple of his kids or his harem will be hanging out there, and they're gonna get killed, but it's a much smaller number than firebombing the whole town. Makes sense? It does to the US military planners, and they're not alone. Lots of people around planet Earth are agreeing that this drone technology is the future of war as well. Who am I talking about? Who else is using them? You pretty much go around the planet Earth, my friends. Again, I'm picking on the US a lot because the US is using them actively right now. Every country with any significant army is investing heavily in this technology. Heavily. You can damn skippy bet the Chinese are going to want as many of these suckers as they can. But every country who has a significant military presence is going to be investing in these technologies. And they're all the rage right this second, but they're actually not completely brand new. The United States and others probably started experimenting with this stuff, you know, probably back as early as World War I. As soon as they figured out how to put a plane in the sky, thanks Orville and Wilbur for that. The Wright brothers, you know, as soon as they invented the airplane, a week later, probably somebody asked, hey, how can we put a bomb on it? So, and they did for World War I. But probably a week after that, someone said, how can we put a bomb on it and not have a man in the cockpit? So people have been dabbling with this, with aerial warfare, unmanned aerial warfare for a while. But it was not really used too much until the Vietnam War. Again, hey, that still seems old to you folks. That's a long time ago. But the U.S. did use unmanned aircraft for reconnaissance, for mapping, but also for some weapons delivery to key targets and military depots and probably bridges and stuff. Not a lot, but it was experimented with and to great success by most assessments. Since then, the U.S. and its NATO allies have used drone technology, drone aircraft, for reconnaissance, but also weapons delivery in Bosnia, in Serbia. In Serbia, whenever U.S. and NATO bombed the hell out of Serbia to get them to stop picking on Kosovo. They've been used in Kosovo. They probably still are used on the Kosovo-Serb border right now for reconnaissance and surveillance. They've been used in Iraq since the U.S. invaded there. They've been used in Afghanistan, and that's where they really started to take off. When the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, U.S. NATO invaded Afghanistan shortly after September 11, 2001, it was the CIA, and I know this because I got my CIA buddy in the geography department, who says, you know, hey, this was really great stuff because the CIA dropped a small group of people into Afghanistan, not to take over the country, but to try to find Osama bin Laden and this small group of people. How are you going to do that? Get the drones out. You got the stuff, and we got cameras on them, and we're recording, and we're having surveillance, and we're figuring out where these people are. Okay, we figured out where they are, but now what? Now we got to send a group of troops to go get them. Hey, here's one better. Let's stick a Hellfire missile on it, and as soon as we see them, and we follow them around for 10 hours, and we're sure it's them, whoo, booyah, party over at that particular party. So in Afghanistan, via the CIA, is where the Predator drone really started to take off. But Yemen was also a place where the United States has targeted individuals, but I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. Libya as well, the current Libya conflict. The U.S. and NATO have been using Predator drones there as well. But, back to my butt, not back there, but here, but, it's in Pakistan that the Predator technology and drones in general have really evolved, and evolved rapidly and in a very big way, rapidly and exponentially. Pakistan truly will be looked back in like 100 years, and it will be the kind of, it really looked on as the cauldron in which everybody was experimenting with the stew of using these things, and they used them more, and they did this and they did that, and they tried it and failed and made them better. Pakistan is where the Predators have really made their mark and started to accelerate in usage. Just for instance, or I should say for statistical purposes here, and I don't throw out numbers too often, but in Pakistan in 2004, there was one Predator strike. One recorded, documented, hey, we got it. We think there's an al-Qaeda dude down here. We're going to send a Predator across the border from Afghanistan into sovereign state Pakistan to get this person. And boom, we got him. This is during the Bush administration. 2005, they did another one. 2006, they did 2. 2007, they did a few more than that. Then they did 30. Then they did 60. Then they did 90 the year after that. By 2010, there were 118 documented uses of drones in attacks within Pakistan. I'm just talking about Pakistan. Just talking about Pakistan. Here in 2011, they probably will break the record once again. They're already at probably 70 or 75, and there's still a few months to go. This stuff has been exploding, pun intended, in terms of its usage. It's just extremely effective. The United States, the CIA, and the Department of Defense just say, hey, look, yes, we know there's some collateral damage, but it's minimal. And here are the list of al-Qaeda people we've taken out using this. Not using troops, not using battleships, not using tanks, using this unmanned aircraft technology. We have taken out 20 or 30 or 50 of the top al-Qaeda guys. It works for them. They think it's great. They're not alone. Other countries are saying, yes, that would be a good way to look at people, survey people, keep surveillance on, or go bomb people that we don't like either, individual peoples. So the U.S. is not alone. So who else has already used them? Well, actually, Israel used them back during the Yom Kippur War. I think was that 82? Where the Israel used a bunch of unmanned aircraft to actually go and take out all of the Syrian Air Force while it was still on the ground. Completely unmanned aircraft. Israel has also used the drone technologies. Maybe it's the Predators, or maybe it's our homegrown version of the Predator, a lot in Gaza. Israel doesn't want to occupy Gaza anymore, but it wants to target individuals there, and so it uses this stuff to do it. However, the one I want to kind of bring it back to current events with, even though this is 10 years old now, is that when the United States used Predator strikes in Yemen over almost a decade ago is when this really kind of became a game changer for the globe. It's really been a game changer in Pakistan. And most Pakistanis are not happy about it, by the way. However, it was a game changer for the globe back in November of 2002, because that was at the point at which the U.S., for the first time ever, used one of these drones to attack individual peoples in Yemen, a country that the U.S. was not at war with. Ha ha! Ho! Ho! Why is that a big deal? Well, that's a game changer, because when you're at war with a country, all bets are off, all rules are off. Once the U.S. invaded Iraq, it's like, hey, we're here, we're going to do this stuff. Once they were in Afghanistan, hey, we're here, we're going to use this stuff. Yemen, the U.S. wasn't at war with. It didn't have a physical presence in, it was not at war with. Yemen is a sovereign state. So this is the first time back in 2002, and they did this, by the way, to take out a dude that they thought was responsible for the USS Cole bombing, another al-Qaeda terrorist attack on a naval ship called the USS Cole back over a decade ago. And it probably was the dude. And they actually used a Predator to shoot a missile straight into the dude's car he was in. I mean, right through the freaking windshield, man. That's how crazy this technology is. From 500 miles away. Shoo! Right into the window. Boom, the whole car gets blown up. Again, it's a game changer because now we're starting to rewrite the rules of sovereignty. And now let's get to the last part of this. Why would I have entitled this The Geography of the Drone Wars? Because this is really changing how countries are going to operate and the whole definition of sovereignty itself. If you can go at any given time and use an unmanned aircraft, which means you're not invading a country, it's not even, you're not even putting a man in Yemen. It's a piece of equipment, dudes. So we're not invading Yemen, we're not doing anything in Yemen, we're not declaring war on Yemen, but somehow we're going to kill somebody in Yemen. That really starts to raise questions of, okay, how's this going to work for 21st century world? Who are you going to ally with? Think about the geography of all this. If these suckers only go, say, 300 or 400 or 500 miles, okay, in a straight run to be able to make it back, where will you put your bases? Is the future of war that we're not going to declare war on Yemen. We don't want to go into Yemen. We don't want to send troops to Yemen. We're not going to do anything in Yemen. But we're going to kill some people in Yemen. So let's put our base somewhere 400 to 500 miles within a distance of Yemen. Now you're starting to see the geography. Where are the future of U.S. military installations and others? Again, I keep picking on the U.S., but where will China put its unmanned vehicle bases? Where's the U.S. going to put theirs? Where's Saudi Arabia going to put theirs? Because, by the way, the attack on the dudes back in 2002 in Yemen came from a still as yet undisclosed Arab ally of the U.S. is where that base was. It's like, oh, really? Let's see. Yemen, go look at a map. Yemen? Who would be the U.S. ally within 400 miles of Yemen that would have hosted a base? Well, let's see. There's Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia. Actually, it could have been Egypt, another U.S. ally at the time. But that may be changing. So you're starting to see that as the nature of warfare itself is changing, troop deployment is also changing. The size of the militaries around the world is going to be probably getting lower because you can use these drone technologies to do exactly what you want, which is not to invade a country. It's to kill individuals in that country. So if you start to think about where these drone bases are, the original ones that were firing into Afghanistan were in Pakistan for the U.S. Pakistan used to be a U.S. ally, but Pakistan doesn't like us so much anymore. So they had to move the drone bases to Afghanistan, and from Afghanistan, then they send drone predator strikes into Pakistan, which they're still doing to this day. And that pisses off lots of Pakistanis. Some people actually say that the Pakistani military knows all about this, even though they publicly deny it and publicly say we don't like this, because it's an invasion of our sovereignty. And again, that's coming back to the sovereignty issue. Hey, you're sending a missile into our country. You're not at war with our country. How can you legally do this? You know what the answer is, friends? Nobody knows. They're still trying to figure this out on the international stage. Is it an invasion if you send something that's not a human, that's not an army? We don't know. But think again critically and geographically about where are these bases going to be? How are they going to operate? And the ones that struck in Serbia back in the day, those were in the U.S. base in Albania, a big U.S. ally. You can start to kind of geopolitically, geographically, see how armies are going to change, but the stationing of armies is going to change in the future. You're not going to send an army to a country you want to attack. You're probably going to send a small group of people to an adjacent allied country to set up your drone war base. Whoa! This stuff's getting tricky, isn't it? All right. Well, I also want to end on this. Every major state with any major military commitment anywhere on planet Earth is investing millions into these technologies. And I mean everybody. China, Turkey, Russia, Brazil. This is the future. However, they're not alone. Non-state actors are also starting to acquire them and get into the game. It is important to note that al-Qaeda has been dabbling trying to get a hold of these technologies. And to me, it's like, how can you not? You can probably go to a Radio Shack and get enough to piece something together yourself. But also, Hezbollah, a terrorist/rebel group in Lebanon, already used drone technologies to attack Israel in past wars. So this is something that's not even confined to major state actors. Minor state actors are acquiring them, and non-state actors are acquiring them. And think about how that's going to change the geography of conflict as well. That again, it's not people facing off against people, or tanks faces off against tanks, or airplanes versus airplanes. This is a true game changer. It's changing the definition of sovereignty. It's changing how wars are being conducted. You know, if a single dude from al-Qaeda can go to Radio Shack in, Flint, Michigan and acquire the parts to pilot something within a 400-mile radius of Michigan, hey, that's kind of a big deal. That's why I say pay attention to the geography of the drone wars as they unfold in our century. As Master Yoda would say, begun the drone wars have. And I'll end on that. I'm out.